The first question which we have is basically on to find out the equation of line that is passing through 1 comma negative 7 and 4 comma negative 3. So here, of course, the general standard form of the line that we have is y equals to mx plus c. So y equals to mx plus c here. Just a reminder that m is the slope and c is the y-intercept. C is the y-intercept. So when you're finding the equation of line, here they have given the second condition, like which is 2 points, has been given already to you. So what you do is find out the slope. Let's say n will be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 minus y1, I can take this as x1, y1. This will be x2 and y2. So slope is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is, of course, I have written the formula already. So I'm going to just resubstitute here the values. So minus 3 minus of minus 7 upon 4 minus 1. So this becomes minus 3 plus 7 over 3. And this simplifies to 4 over 3. So the slope of this line that I'm finding is, it's 4 over 3. Our next step is, once I found out the slope, I need to find out what's the y-intercept. That's nothing but the c value. So once I got the slope, I'm just going to make use of the one of the coordinates that is on the line. For example, 1 comma negative 7 or 4 comma negative 3. I'm just using, let's say, 4 comma negative 3. So since I know that y equals to, let's say, mx plus c is the equation, I'm going to plug in m as 4 here, 4 over 3 here. So we have halfway completed equation, 4 over 3x plus c. And then you plug in x coordinate as 4 and y coordinate as negative 3. So x coordinate is 4 and y coordinate is negative 3. Because that passes through, or the point lies on that line, or you can say the line passes through these two. So it must fulfill the equation. That helps us to find c value. So with negative 3 minus, this is going to be 16 over 3. Do not multiply this both in denominator, like 4 times 4, you do 16, and 4 times 3 also do like 12. That's not how it is. So you multiply only numerator. So if it is like a over b times c, it is ac over b, and it is like a very simple thing. Okay, so now this becomes minus 16 over 3 equals to c. And if I take LCM, this is going to be 9, negative 9, negative 16. So that gives us negative 25 over 3 as the c value. So when you're writing the final answer, like you can't just leave it here. So your final answer is going to be finding out the exact equation, that is y equals to 4 over 3x and minus 25 over 3. So that's the explanation for the first question. You need to know how to do this particular question because it's one of the very frequent questions assessed in the exam particularly. Now, this is the second kind of question where you have been given the x and y intercept. So remember that when you have been given x or y intercept, so the meaning of x intercept is the length that is from the origin, and the meaning of y intercept is length from origin once again, but along y-axis. Now, when you're finding out the equation of line, in this case, once again, there is no separate rule. You can do y equals to mx plus c. That's a general slope intercept form. This we call it as slope intercept form. So if we want to do it like quickly, we can see that already we have the y intercept. So the c value already you have got 4. And if you want to find out the slope, now for such lines or such questions, you can already see the slope. You don't need to do y2 minus y1 or x2 minus x1. And you can see rise is 4 and run is 3. So rise is 4. So slope is basically 4 over 3. But since it is like making an obtuse angle, this is going to be negative 4 over 3. So slope is negative 4 over 3. Or you could have done, this coordinate is 0, comma 4. This is 3, comma 0. If you don't understand, so you can write this as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is going to be 4 minus 0 over 0 minus 3, which is 4 over negative 3. And of course, you can take it up and become negative 4 over 3. So you can see that in both the ways, whether you'll want to do like quickly or whether you want to take some time, your equation can be interpreted or written like this. So that's your what do you say, general slope idea. And now, if you want to write on the final answer, you can do that is negative 4 over 3x and plus c, because you already know the c value is 4. So you don't need to worry about. Or if you are still like maybe not clear with this to find c, you can just now you plug the m value here. So it'll be like negative 4 over 3x plus c. And you can substitute any coordinate, either 3 comma 0 or 0 comma 4. If I take x as 3 and y as 0, and you'll see that you get the c as again 4. So 0 equals to negative 4 over 3 times 3 and plus c. So 3 and 3 cancel, and you get c as positive 4. So your equation still like is in the similar balance. This is really important, that you have multiple approaches so that you can save some time during exam. So this is how you do a question that has been given in terms of x and y intercept. Now I'm going to just kind of take quickly the last question, which is about the parallel lines. Now this is one of the questions that is generally assessed for 4 to 5 marks. So I'm just going to ask you to pay attention on this. The question here is, find out the equation of line that passes through 6, 8 and is parallel to this given line. So actually the question hangs like this. So let's say if you have a particular, if I go on to find the slope and all, so I'm just giving an example how is the question framed here. So if you have, let's say, a line like this, so they have given that there is a line 8x plus 6y, which I'm not clear, like, still where this is going to cut x and y axis. I'm going to give a quick tip for that. And it passes through 6, 8. So there is a line, another line that is parallel to this. So another line that is parallel to this line, which passes through 6, 8. Now, as I mentioned in the last class, that parallel lines have the same slope. So I don't have the slope of this line. And in order to find equation of a line, at least you need to have the slope and a point on the line. Here the point has been given as 6, 8. I know the name of this green line, but I don't know the name yet for the other red line. So what do we do in that case is basically, you're going to find out the slope using this given line. So I'm going to find out what's the slope for first this line, 8x plus 6y is 7. Now, if I wanted to find the slope, what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert to y equals to mx plus c format. So this is not in that form yet. So I'm going to send 8y to the other side. So 6y is 7 minus 8x, and you divide by other, like here 6. So y is 7 minus 8x over 6. And if you isolate each term, so it'll be 7 over 6 minus 8 over 6 times x. So this, what you got here is the y-intercept 7 over 6 for this green line. And the slope is negative 8 over 6, which is going to be, so slope is negative 8 over 6. And that's going to be negative 4 over 3. So what you do is when you're finding out, let's say the equation of this line, I'm going to use the slope as negative 4 over 3, which is like you can see, from the previous question as well, we got the same answer. But there is no link to this problem and the other one. So let us now, what I'm going to do is let us find out the value of the C. How do we find out basically the value of C? Now, what we have is we have got the slope. Slope for even this line is going to be negative 4 over 3. So y equals to negative 4 over 3x plus c. And now to get the c value, plug in x as 6 and y as 8. So x is 6 and y is 8. So when you look at this, you get 8 equals to negative 4 over 3 times 6 plus c. And then 3 2s are 6. You get negative 8 and 8. So you get c value as 16. The final equation of line that we get is basically y equals to negative 4 over 3x and plus 16. So this is the slope and y-intercept form of this particular line. And this is a general explanation for this particular kind of questions. Okay, so from here onwards, we'll be understanding what are the perpendicular lines and how do we get the equations or identity for a particular line. So let us say if we have been given a line. This is, let's say, the x and y axis. So if there are two lines that are given which are perpendicular, so firstly understand the key term perpendicular. Perpendicular means that lines are cutting each other at a right angle. So if lines are cutting each other at a right angle, we call the lines to be perpendicular. Like we had the slope requirement for parallel lines, same way, we can find out the slope of a perpendicular line as well. But the condition here is different. If I have the slope of this line as m1 and slope of this line is m2. I repeat again, slope of this line is m1 and slope of this line is m2. If these two lines needs to be perpendicular, then their slopes must multiply to -1. If these two lines have to be perpendicular, then their slopes must be multiplying to -1. It's like a checklist. So if you have two slopes of the independent or different lines, and you wanted to find out whether those lines are perpendicular or not, you just multiply out the slopes and see if it is coming to -1. Now, for example, if I give the slope of this line as 2, and if I give this line slope is -0.5. So if I look at, I mean, it's other way around. If I give this as, let's say, -2, and this is -0.5. So M1 here is -0.5, and M2 here is, let's say, 2. So this is 2, not -2. So if I multiply this out, it's going to be -1. Now, if I graph these two lines, you'll notice that the lines will be perpendicular. So it means that they'll cross each other at a right angle. So this is the condition for perpendicular. Now, you are, when you see the kind of question that you're assessed in exam, you are actually asked to find out the slope of, if one line is given, what's the slope of other perpendicular lines. So first, let's practice some questions on that. So let us say I have been given that the slope of one of the line is, let's say 3/2. What's the slope of other line that is perpendicular to this given line, which means you have to find M2. So very simple, you can just keep M1 times M2 equals to -1. And if you take M1 as 3/2 times M2 equals to -1, then you're going to get M2 is equals to -2/3, which is like you take 2 here, cross multiply and divide by 3. Very simple. Or when you are looking at the perpendicular slope, and also now you might be observing is that this M2 is nothing but negative reciprocal of this, which is obviously from here. Look at this. M2 is -1 upon M1. So negative and reciprocal of the first slope. So if I take reciprocal of 3/2, I get 2/3 and negative. So if you want to just do a shortcut, you take the negative reciprocal of the slope of one of the perpendicular line of the given line, and you'll get the slope of the second perpendicular line. Let me give you another example. If I have, let us say there is a line that passes through 3,5 and 5,-8. And I wanted to find out what's the slope of this line and a line that is perpendicular to this. So first I'm going to find out, let's say M1, and see what do we get. So M1 is -8, -5, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 5 minus 3. So -8 minus 5 is -13 and upon 2. So we got the slope of this line as -13 upon 2. If I wanted to find out slope of this line, either I can use M1 into M2 equals to -1, or you can use just the negative reciprocal. If I just want to take the shortcut, negative reciprocal of this number, negative of negative will become positive, and reciprocal of this will become 2 upon 13. So that is also you're going to get from here. If I take -13 upon 2 times M2 equals to -1, this get cancelled. You take here, M2 is going to be 2 over 13. So this is how you find out the slope of perpendicular lines when they are given, one of the slope is given and you wanted to find out the other slope. I'm going to now do one of the question that is going to involve this particular concept. So now this is these two examples are illustration of the kind of questions that are assessed in your exam. Number one is that they have given the question, they have given equation of a line, and you have to find another line that passes through 5 comma negative 3 and is perpendicular to the line 3x plus y, 3x equals to y minus 3. Now the first thing here it has been given is some of the key terms that we need to understand. The perpendicular to this given line and passing through this. So if I visualize the diagram, there is a line that is given as 3x equals to y minus 3. And the second line is perpendicular to this given line and it passes through 5 comma negative 3. So this has been a given situation. Now, when you look at this line, I don't have this line in standard form. So firstly, I'm going to find out the equation of this line in standard form. So 3x plus 3, y equals to 3x plus 3. I just send this 3 to the other side to get added. Now, if I wanted to find out, let's say, the slope of this line. Now, slope of this line can be easily said that, okay, the slope of this is 3. Slope of this line is 3. Now, I need the slope of this line. So obviously, you can see that this line is perpendicular since it is given in the question. This line is perpendicular to the given line. So the slope of this line is 3. The slope of the other line, that is this slope of this line is 3. The slope of this line, which is perpendicular to this, is going to become negative 1. So negative reciprocal you can take. So slope of this is 3. So slope of the line that is perpendicular is going to be negative 1/3. And now, since we got the slope, we got a point through which it passes. I can find out the equation. So the equation is going to be y equals to mx plus c. And it's going to be y equals to m is going to be negative 1/3 x plus c. Since I have to find the c value, I'm going to plug in x as 5 and y as negative 3. So negative 3 equals to negative 1/3 times 5 and plus c. This is going to become negative 5 over 3. So it'll become negative 3 plus 5 over 3 if you bring it to the other side equals to c. And if you take LCM of this, it's going to be negative 9 plus 5 upon 3, which is negative 4 upon 3 equals to c. So when you write down the final answer for this line, it's going to be y equals to negative 1/3 x plus, minus 4 over 3 because c is negative 4 over 3. So this is the explanation for the first question on how do you find out basically the equation of the perpendicular line. So we have to find out the equation of the perpendicular bisector of the line segment joining this. So if I have to show you what does it mean is basically there is a point 5 comma negative 2 and then there is a point 2 comma negative 5. So this is basically the segment that I'm joining, and you got to find out equation of a perpendicular line, perpendicular bisector of this particular line. So you have to find out equation of this line that bisects this line segment, means this distance and this distance is the same. Now here we got to use the very important logic of the midpoint. Now if this is bisecting, if let's say this is point A, B and C. If this segment is getting bisected by this line, it means that the C is the midpoint. So C, if I take, is the midpoint. Now there is a formula for midpoint. If you have two coordinates, x1, y1 and x2, y2, the midpoint of this segment is given by x1 plus x2 over 2 comma y1 plus y2 over 2. So this is the midpoint of any 2 points. If you take the midpoint of 2 coordinates, they are given by this 5 comma negative 2 and 2 comma negative 5. You can find out the midpoint using this formula. So what does it mean is I'm going to take the average of the x coordinate. If I take the average of x coordinate, I'm getting 7 over 2. So x1 plus x2 over 2 is the average of the x coordinate. Similarly, average of y coordinate, negative 2 plus negative 5 is negative 7 over 2. So x1 plus x2 I did, If you add these two, 5 plus 2, 7 over 2. So the coordinate of this point is basically 7 over 2 comma negative 7 over 2. Now this becomes one of the very important um, part of finding equation of this line. So you got the point through which this line passes. Now the thing is that you got to find the slope. And since the word perpendicular has been mentioned, generally perpendicular is like you show like this, inverted T you can say. I need to find the slope of line, this perpendicular line. So this line, let's say L. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first find out the slope of segment AB. So slope of segment AB is basically negative y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 minus y1, so negative 5, if I do negative 5 minus of minus negative 2 over x2 minus x1, 2 minus 5. So this becomes 5, negative 5 plus 2 over 2 minus 5, which is negative 3 over negative 3, which is going to be 1. So the slope of this line is basically 1, means this line is 1. So if I look at what will be the slope of this perpendicular line, so m1 into m2 is negative 1. So since I already got the slope of this line is 1, 1 times m2 is negative 1. So the m2, which is the perpendicular line, will have the slope of negative 1. So the slope of this perpendicular line, basically the line L, is negative 1. Now after this, we have to find the equation, proper equation. So we got to do y equals to mx plus c. Once you get the mx plus c, you know that m is negative 1. So negative x plus c. Now to get the c value, you know that this line L passes through 7 over 2 comma negative 7 over 2. So it passes through, so when I start plugging x is negative 7 over 2, y is 7 over 2. So 7 over 2 equals to x is negative 7 over 2. So negative of negative 7 over 2 plus c. So this becomes 7 over 2 equals to 7 over 2 plus c. So this you bring this side and it get cancelled, which becomes 0 equals to c. When you say c is 0, it simply means the line is passing through origin. So the equation, final equation for this line will be negative x plus 0, which is same as writing y equals to negative x. So that's the equation of this perpendicular bisector that you can see. So just a summary of what we did just now. The first thing is you have been given two coordinates, or you will use the midpoint formula to find the midpoint of this particular segment. Once you know this, the line L passes through the midpoint, you find the slope of line segment AB, and then you use the formula y equals to mx plus c, where you know that m will be slope for the line L is going to be the negative reciprocal for slope of line AB. So this is like in short, or you can say summary of the entire coordinate, coordinate system, or you can say equation of line in for slope intercept form. So once you got the slope as negative 1, you are going to substitute the coordinate x as 7 over 2. So the midpoint is x coordinate is 7 over 2 and y coordinate is negative 7 over 2. So plug in x coordinate as 7 over 2. So x is 7 over 2 and y is negative 7 over 2. So it'll become negative 7 over 2 equals to x is also here. If I plug in x equals to this, that is also going to be negative 7 over 2 plus c. If you bring it here, it's going to be negative 7 over 2 plus 7 over 2, which is c, becomes 0. So the equation of this line basically is something like this. So its slope is negative 1 and it passes through origin. So this is going to be the equation of the bisector of this particular line segment.